So I spoke with Chris Gonzales. He's a branch manager at Loan Simple about, his take on what's going on, and do we think that the coronavirus and the stuff we have happening right now is going to cause a housing crash? And we kind of decided to put together a quick little presentation and go over that. It seems like that's a fairly common question. I did a quick little Google search on trending questions, and the housing crash is up there. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to talk about it. And we have some good news about that, but I thought it'd be good to talk about the housing market. It's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. So would you agree, Chris, it's a little crazy out there right now?
I definitely agree. I think in these times we really have to really think and reach out to the people that are out there that have that knowledge, that have that ability to help us with these unvetted questions, and give us the facts. Not assume, but just give us the facts. And because we can't forecast what's going to happen with COVID-19, but we want we want to address the facts, and I think that's what we're doing today.
Absolutely. And I know, just like in our house, it's just because we've got 6 kids, and not Chris and I, Martha and I, Martha's on here too, that it's gotten a little hectic at the house. We got all these kids in the shopping cart. We didn't buy those kids. They're our kids. They just happen to follow us along wherever we go. It's changed everything, huh? The daily routine is different. Just the motivation is different. Wouldn't you agree, Chris?
Yeah, I think it makes us think on what the next steps are, and how we're close to our families, and what is our next steps. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, I've got some clients right now. We've had some that were going to come in from out of state, and they canceled. Obviously, traveling's probably not a great idea right now. We've I think, did you just talk to somebody, Martha, that's stuck in Mexico? They went out on spring break. So yeah, that kind of stuff is definitely going to change how we do business. And we've also had other people that seem to be a little bit more motivated to get their home sold than they were before. So this whole crazy uncertainty has seemed to have some people put the brakes on and other people hit the gas pedal. Nobody seems to be staying the same. They're either slowing down or speeding up. It is very, very interesting right now. Have you noticed that with your clients too, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in the mortgage industry, there's so much uncertainty. We're out there, we're looking at rates, we're looking at the marketplace, we're looking at all these different things and different items, and then we're going, oh my God, should I lock in now? Should I wait? What's the marketplace going to do? Should I refinance? Should I pull the equity out? Should I have cash reserves? It's like going wild, and so my clients are going, what direction and who do I go for these questions and these answers that are out there? And I think it's just great, that it's so important that, going into what our next slide is this is a different time. This is definitely a different time.
Absolutely. So let's just remove the COVID-19 stuff for a minute, and let's just look at the facts of what happened in 2008 and compare that to what's going on now in the housing market. So just a quick overview, the whole economics on the mortgage side are completely different now than they were, aren't they, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. In 2008, we had an economic crash. It was a market crash. It was due to a lot of, overinflated prices. It was due to relaxed mortgage guidelines. It was due to all these stated income, stated assets. We knew what we were doing. Lenders knew what we were doing. Banks knew what we were doing.
Whoa, you don't want to admit that, Chris.
No,
Come on.
But
I thought everybody was blaming the government on this. It wasn't the lenders.
But they knew what was happening, but we didn't have a fix to it. And true reality aside, we didn't have a fix to it. We didn't have a set plan. We didn't know what to do. And that was a full year. And so we looked at different varieties of people going into foreclosure, pulling out too much equity. We had different things that we had no control over. And
Absolutely. And I kind of thought, I wasn't in the industry then, but I thought, okay, we went to go get a loan, Martha and I, and they looked at our credit and everything, and they asked us, well, how much do you want? I'm like, oh my gosh, we could really mess up right now. And then we saw the other side of it where they're giving 125% loan to value. That's insane.
and now we look at, well, gosh, did we use up all the equity in our property? Are we upside down in our property? That's one of the reasons why the market did crash. And that was a full year of 2008 to 2009. And this is a really great slide.
And something you mentioned, Chris, when we talked earlier, was what we have going on now is not, like you said, I don't remember how you said it. It's not a mortgage thing. This is an epidemic thing. It's a virus thing. It's a completely different set of issues than we had before.
And you're so right, because right now we have all hands on deck. It's totally different. We didn't have all hands on deck. We have certain things that we're putting into place we know how to keep away from that 2008 crash. I can name at least 20 things out there that we are doing and putting in place from stimulating the marketplace, from mortgage-backed securities, from the feds, from forgiveness of current mortgages. There's so much things that we have in place. So maybe how do we cover payroll for the unemployed instead of trying to develop a business and
Absolutely.
from the ground up.
One of the things that you did touch on before was just the equity right now. That people have so much more equity in their homes than they did back then. I mean, just looking at this slide, this is, the whole cash refi for the United States, and just look at the difference there. That 824 billion of equity pulled out, and in 05, 06, 07 compared to 232 billion from 17, 18, and 19. That just tells us people are in a lot better equity position in their house than they had been in decades.
And you're absolutely right. We are still at low interest rates. We still can lend money. There's still money out there. We have you have other slides on this, but as far as the equity levels of what New Mexico is at, opposed to
that would have been a good slide for me to do. I didn't put that one together. Thanks, so.
But and having that equity in the property is so important.
Absolutely.
And why it's important to utilize it. Absolutely.
So another issue that we had before was, okay, so going back to the 125% loan, well, it made sense to do those kind of loans because they're predicting low side, they're going to have 12% appreciation. And we know some markets were 20, 30% appreciation for the year. So 25% on top of 100, that wasn't that big of a deal, was it?
No, not at all. And as you can see in that, and what happened in the last 6 years, and where are we at? As far as there's a least amount of houses out there. I mean, we have the valuation of those houses coming in. And I'll take an example, and we talked about this is appraisers going out to the property now from a year ago, and how much of the value has increased within that 1 year. And and we're talking about a good some amount, especially in the Placitas area. From a $320,000 to a $360,000 home in 1 year. It's unprecedented.
So then if we look at this slide, this is the Albuquerque area. So we kind of mirrored national on that last boom bust we had, the bubble. But if you look right now, we were kind of slow 2015, 16, 17, 18. We didn't have anything crazy. I mean, so I hear people still asking, are we in a bubble? We haven't created a bubble here. 2019 was the best year we've had in the last decade for appreciation, but really that brought us back to 08 numbers, 07 numbers, and put us ahead a little bit. So people asking, are we in a bubble? No, we haven't had the appreciation to create that bubble, like, which happened in, you know, '06, '05.
Right. And, I mean, going back to that, the rates. I mean, when you're talking about that, the supply of money is still great. We want to go out there and we want to take advantage of that. Whenever, and especially with the volatility, we don't know the way the marketplace is. We don't know where the rates are jumping 5, 6, 7 times a day. And if jumping 5 or 6, 7 times a day, there is going to be a possibility within a 6-hour gap that the rates are going to be again back to the 3s, opposed to where it's at right now. So that's
The interest
important.
rates will have a big impact on the housing. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of looking at, I should have put this slide up earlier, forgive me, but this one just kind of demonstrates, I guess, how easy it was to get a loan during this time frame. Then after they did the, what was it, Dodd-Frank and all that other good stuff, and how they changed it from there. So we can see it got really, really strict, and then it kind of went up a little bit. It's still, anybody who's gotten a loan lately, it's very intrusive. You guys want to know everything. Every single dollar I spend, you want to know why, which makes sense. We don't want to have that housing bubble like we had last time.
Absolutely. And I think guidelines are changing from the investors every day. And we know that. As a lender, we see that daily. We see what Freddie's doing. We see what Fannie's doing. We see what FHA, VA, certain guidelines that are changing. And it's not the fact that we want to know everybody's financial. We want to make sure that they have the ability to repay within that 6-month period. And it's important for any type of mortgage industry out there, or any type of mortgage company out there, to notice that if we write a loan, we want to make sure we can sell it off to that investor. And if that investor does not buy it, then it becomes a security issue for that lender. And
that's a great point. So the investors aren't going to do what they did before either, are they? They're not just going to buy all this junk mortgage backed securities like they had in the past.
Right. So they're going to be more cautious about it.
It's a good point.
And they're going to see they're going to want to know what's going to be the return, right? I mean, are you going to take a mortgage-backed security at a 2.5% or a 4.5%? What's your return on it? And is it a good file? And are we collecting the right documentation from the customer?
Absolutely makes sense. I don't know, lost one of my slides. So another big difference between now and the crash that we had before was in 2006, 2007, everybody wanted to be a real estate investor. So people were building a house for themselves, and then they're building maybe 1, 2, heck, let's do 3, because these mortgage guys are giving them money, right? Everybody's excited. Real estate's great. We're all going to get rich. So you got this guy sitting on 4 houses, and then everything tanks, and they're toast. So we had a lot of inventory. So just supply and demand. If we have too much supply and the demand drops, what happens, guys? Pricing goes with it every single time. So if we look at today, dude, we got a supply shortage. We don't have enough supply to currently meet our demand. So everything going economically, even if our demand is going to slow down a little bit, which it probably will. I mean, people are going to freak out. We're going to have job issues. It's going to. It's okay if it does, because we're not even balanced right now. We are so heavily lopsided as a seller's market that honestly, a little correction is needed just to maintain a decent balance. We're still out of balance. So just if we're looking at, and I'm pointing at the screen, but nobody can see me pointing at the screen. 6,000 houses on the market compared to 1,900. This is a bubble. This is a more normal real estate market. Anything you want to add on that, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the, as far as like inventory in the, in the marketplace and in Albuquerque, what we're seeing, and of course, the least amount of inventory is really affecting our valuations of our properties, right? Wouldn't you agree? The valuation, the higher valuations of the properties.
We're actually seeing stuff not make appraisal and stuff on that because of lack of comps. I mean,
Right.
we've seen that on like some of the under 200 stuff not make it because there just wasn't enough comps in there. But yeah, a lack
Yeah, I
of
mean,
inventory for comps. Yeah,
a lack of
that is
inventory for comps,
an
and
issue.
and home ownership hasn't been is its lowest since 51 years, right? So, I mean, that's just great information that everybody should. I mean, in 51 years, do you believe that? It's its
Wow.
lowest since 51 years.
What was the stat? It's the lowest what?
In 51 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't have a chart for that one either.
I mean, we could go all the way back. I mean, if you even look at, we're still lower than 2000 and 2005.
Oh, for inventory? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're crazy low.
And then home ownership as well. People are buying, and that's why we have lower, everybody's buying a house. It's
Yes,
exciting
we haven't
news.
had. There's been a couple other factors that went along with it. So 06, 07, the home builders were building like crazy. I mean, they were spitting out houses and houses and houses, and they got stuck with a lot of inventory. Ever since the market, they never really ramped up their production. So I know for like the last 5 years, new home building permits have been pretty much stagnant. So there hasn't been a lot of new homes even added to the market, which has added to the inventory shortage as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I fully agree.
So just let's recap. So we've got one of the bigger differences. This is a viral thing. Nobody would have predicted that the government was going to shut everything down and we end up in this little funky place we are now. Nobody could have predicted that. I think like in the housing bubble, come on, man. We're not going to just keep making money on real estate like that. 125% loans, something's going to happen. People knew that was a bubble. They just didn't want to believe it. This is different in that aspect of it. People have been smarter, I think, don't you, Chris, since the crash and not pulling out all this equity from their house just to go on vacation to Disneyland or do other stuff. I think people have been responsible. Would you agree?
I would agree on that. I mean, people are really thinking about, the equity, and then they're paying it down a lot quicker. They're getting smarter about making more principal payments. They're getting smarter about paying down their mortgage and looking at different avenues on getting their mortgages paid off a lot quicker.
Absolutely. And appreciation this time. We follow the stock market. We see things basic economics. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. That's what it is. So this last time, we've just had nice little up. We haven't had nothing crazy. So even if we have a down, it's not going to be a big down. It's just going to be a nice, like a little steady ocean wave, right, Marth? It's not going to be a tsunami like the crash was in '08 because we don't have this big buildup of inventory and this big buildup of false demand, really, because we had people buying houses that should have never qualified. So we had fake demand on all this properties. We don't have that now. Thanks to Chris and Dodd-Frank and other people there, we got a lot better mortgage guidelines, right, Chris?
Yes, I mean, the credit guidelines are much tighter than in 2008. I mean, they really are, right? And we're looking at everything in the home, and people are sustaining their property. They're keeping their property for a lot longer period of time. It's the foreclosure has gone down. I mean, it's just a better. We got together as the lenders association and got together, and we made sure that we went by all the investor guidelines and whatever overlays that some of these banks or mortgage guidelines are, and got this information and made sure that these are sellable loans and that we're doing our due diligence. And it's gotten so much better in the lending part that it's nothing like the 2008 by any means.
Absolutely. And like you said, the foreclosures have slowed down. So we've just got normal foreclosures now. We don't have like the additional shadow inventory and all the other stuff that happened, 10, 12 years ago. So like we said before, we just wanted to talk about this. There's proof there that we're not headed towards a crash. Even with this virus that's going on, this virus is going to be a temporary thing, okay? And listening to people talk about it, the best example of what we got going on right now is to compare it to something like 9/11. Nobody predicted that. The impact was felt around the world, right? It's the same thing. Nobody would see this coming. But what it did, like 9/11, it brought everybody together, though, didn't it, Chris? Do you remember that time after that? It was a horrible, horrible event, but I remember feeling connected with everybody I saw because we had this common tragedy, right?
Right.
This is going to be the same thing. It's been interesting just making calls. Like the people that we talk to, they want to talk about it. It seems like it's a little easier to just have conversations with people on the phone, not in person. We're respecting the social distancing. We don't want to make anything worse than it needs to be. But things like this, times like this, will bring out the best in people. And I'm excited for a speedy recovery, and I'm excited what the real estate market and the mortgage rates and everything are going to be once we're through this.
And I fully agree. I mean, there's so many things that to look positive for within our families, and being closer to our families and being closer to our kids, and start to really slow down a little bit to really organize our lives. I think that's a big portion on this. I think everybody will come together. There's so many things that the lenders are doing right now to help out through these times. I mean, from locks to remote titles to drive-by appraisals all these great things that they're doing out there, that it kind of looks like we're in a sense of we've been pushed. Now we're forced to evolve. I mean, we are forced to evolve. What should have been done a while back, we are forced to evolve around these times.
Absolutely.
And we're working together as a whole, from the real estate community to community as a whole, and just building ourselves together to, I mean, from verification of employments and different things that are positive parts that a lot of the investors are putting out there going, we're going to help you through these times. And I want everybody to kind of realize that all the lenders out there are doing everything in their due diligence to still be, still make you homeowners and to help you through home ownership, because the money's out there. We just, we got to work together to get through this.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of things that everybody's doing differently right now. And there's some good questions like, will I be able to sell my home in the spring? What about that kind of stuff? We're going to do a future webinars on that. And I think we're going to talk about really, I got to sell my house. What are we doing differently? We're going to talk about that. So just stay visiting my Facebook page, Sandia Homes, just Facebook, Sandia Homes, however that works. And I'm going to keep updates going. And Chris, you can follow Chris. How do they find you, Chris?
Just on my Facebook page, Christopher Gonzales.
And he's a pretty good singer, so if you follow him, you'll hear him.
I might sing a little bit, I don't know.
He does. He's a great guy. So remember, just wrapping this up, together we can get through this. Together, 6 feet apart, but together we can get through this.
And just stay safe, keep your families safe, and and reach out to both of us and all of us out there if you need any help or assistance. We're more than happy to help in any way that we possibly can, from anything that has to do with your families and your household or anything like that. So Absolutely. Stay safe, and God bless.
All right, signing off. Thank you, guys.